Netflix, you don't need cable. Hop on YouTube, welcome to the hood table, where we chop up local and global events vocally. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, laugh a little, get that wine in your system, fill your glass a little, expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know, these opinions might flash a little. Get addicted to the content, got them binge watching. You don't like it, then you want invited, bet your friends watching in the house in your job parking lot before you clocking. I don't wanna miss a second of this HD content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation, bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn your back until you sorry, try again. Yeah,
welcome to the hood table. Hey, Shakira.
You don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the hood table.
Come on in.
You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Hey, Shakira boo, how you doing? How was your Easter? I hope you had a wonderful Easter. I hope everybody had a wonderful Easter. Hey, Felicia Fee, what's up, girl? Everybody enjoy their holiday? Did you guys celebrate Easter? Did you not celebrate Easter because of the virus? Was it another day, just another day? Or did you actually, get in the Easter spirit and celebrate the resurrection of Christ? Let me know. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Make sure you hit the like button, share it if you like, share the video if you like, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. I want to know, first off, did you guys enjoy the biopic, the Lifetime movie, the biopic of the Clark sisters? That's what we're going to get into today. And then I'll let you guys know how I felt about it as well. I did think it was a good movie. But I don't know. I expected more. I just expected more. I don't know. I think their true story, their actual real life story, I think it deserved to be told. And maybe like of 3-4 day segments, I think the biopic just touched the surface of, their life, their musical careers, their ambitions. I did like the movie. But if y'all watch my pre-review of the movie, which I did, I think the morning, what morning was that? Saturday? Yeah, I did it Saturday morning, I think. My pre-review, I had told y'all some of the things that I was hoping that they would get into. One, for instance, was a couple of years ago when Denise's son, Larry, had took to social media and was requesting, the public to pray for his Aunt Twinkie, who he said was sick or ill and, in the hospital. And then one of the other sisters, I guess he had got in trouble or got scolded for doing that social media live. And so somebody else that came out saying Twinkie wasn't in the hospital, she's not sick. And then Twinkie had came out on her own social media live or video claiming that she was sick, she was in the hospital, but now she's doing better. So it was a lot of different things that was going on with the Clark sisters, from contract issues to estate issues to Denise being shunned from the family. And it was a lot of things that we didn't see in the movie. Now, as far as like Denise, we did see how she was, frowned upon because of her, children born out of wedlock. She had 7 sons, and 3 of those sons were born out of wedlock. And being that they're from a very, very, very strict religious household upbringing, that Kojic life, very strict, especially when it comes to having sex or having, not being married, having fornication, per the Bible, fornicating and having sex without being married and then having kids without being married. But so we're going to discuss the show and as it pertains to an interview that Denise or Niecy did on Larry King a year or so ago, almost a year and a half ago. And I kind of like pin the two against each other. And although I do love the movie, I did like the movie as far as like, I guess I could say as far as musically, I did enjoy the movie because I've always loved the Clark sisters. I mean, I remember growing up and, we grew up in a strict household too, went to church all the time. If there was 20 days in a week, we would have been in church 20 days a week, till I was like a teenager. When I got older teenager, that's when I kind of was like doing my own thing, wasn't trying to be at church. I was out in the streets or working, trying to make money. Hey, real mamas, how you doing? But you said, unfortunately, I had a family member that died, so I did. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sakira. I'm sorry to hear that, hon. My condolences to you and your family. Oh my God, that had to been really, really not good to go through over the holiday. It's sad enough to lose people and you can't celebrate with them in upcoming holidays, but when somebody dies right around the holiday, I know that can really affect people. So yes, my sincere condolences to you and your family. Excuse me, I need some water or something. But y'all tell me what y'all thought about the movie. And if y'all happen to watch that Larry Reid show that came on like a year and a half ago, when he interviewed Twinkie about her standpoint or her point of view of their family and everything they went through. No problem, hon. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. As far as like Denise, as far as her being shunned from the family, like it didn't really show a lot about what happened after that, if they ever tried to get back together, if they ever talked again, if they ever tried to all come together again. A few years back, when they received, the sisters that still was singing together without Niecy, when they had got an Essence Award, a few years back, Karen, she had took to the mic when I guess she was giving out her thank yous and all that, her little speech. And she had mentioned then during the 2016 Essence Awards, and Twinkie wasn't there because Twinkie had just literally got out the hospital, and Niecy wasn't there, of course, because you saw in the movie how after, she kept having kids, they kind of was like, they wasn't feeling that. They was shunning her. So she wasn't there either at the Essence Awards, but the rest of the sisters was there. And Karen had made statements saying that their family was getting back together and that they were going to be like the image of families coming back together. And that she had reached out to Denise, who wasn't there. Karen said she had reached out to Denise and talked to her about coming back to the group and that they were going to come back together. They were going to put out some new CDs, blah, 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 blah. And then when you see Denise on Larry King, she's like, that never happened. They never reached out to me. I haven't seen or spoken to my sisters, like spoken as far as like really having conversations. She said she hasn't spoken to her sisters since their mother's funeral. Remember in the movie when the funeral happened, the mother had passed away, Maddie Moss Clark, aka Joe Jackson. She ran her house. She ran her house just like Joe Jackson did with the Jackson 5 board. She was really strict. And being that they were a talented group of girls, sisters, she pushed them to excel in the music business vocally. She challenged them. I remember when in the movie, she said something about, she asked one of them, could they do something? They was like, oh, that's easy. She was like, we don't do easy in this family. We don't do easy in this family. She challenges them to, do great, be perfect, and she said the word easy is like a curse word, in a family. But yeah, when she was like throwing books at them and heavy, big books at them, throwing them at their head and stuff when they messed up, on a verse or something, when they was having like choir rehearsal, if they messed up on a key or was off key or out of tune or, whatever, she was really, really strict. But when their mother had passed away, which was from, complications, from diabetes. She died from diabetes. And she had actually, they didn't show the part in the movie either where she had lost her leg. She had to have her leg removed. She was in a wheelchair. And then she eventually died. They didn't show all that in between stuff. But at the funeral, Niecy ran up, and because she wanted to be, in the same car, the funeral procession car, with her sisters, but they didn't want her in the car. So she had, had told on Larry King how, just like with her father when he passed, Albert Clark, just like with her father when he passed, the one who was portrayed in the movie as maybe been abusive. She said when he passed, she wasn't privileged to go to that. She said they buried her father, put her father in the ground without her. She wasn't called. She didn't know he died. She didn't know, none of that information. And it was kind of like the same thing with her mother, how she was shunned from the family, from the sisters. And so when her mother died, it was like basically how you see her running up to the car, running up to the church, like after they, had the service and everything. She said in her interview that she had barely even made it to the funeral because she had to drive a very, very long way. She was staying in Cali then, and they were still in Detroit. So she had to drive all the way from Cali by herself with her sons. And she had claimed that she almost didn't even make it to see any part of the funeral, procession or whatever. And what she said had happened was, like a lot of people all these years had thought or assumed that Niecy had been kicked out of the group, that either Maddie Clark, their mother, had kicked her out, or the sisters had kicked her out. But what she claimed had happened was, she claimed she had left. She claims that a lot of rumors had been circulating for years about her relationship, her children, their group, and a lot of them were lies. But she confirmed that she was not put out the group. Like in the show, it really doesn't even like depict if she was really kicked out or if she just left. It kind of made it seem like they just didn't want her there anymore, and they might have kicked her out. But she claimed she wasn't kicked out of the group. She claimed that she left the group, and it was mainly because she was being looked down on and frowned on because of the fact that she had kept having children. Like once she had her first child out of wedlock, they were like, oh, okay, that's this horrible. The church is going to look at us like this. They're going to think we're not really, they aren't preaching at that time. But you know how it says, practice what you preach, especially if you're preachers and they find you in the bar or something like that. Like you're not acting as what you are singing, like what you're singing about, you're not acting in real life. And the main thing that their mother, Maddie Moss, the main thing that Clark, the main thing that she wanted the world to see or for their group to give off was that they were really religious, that they really believed in God, that they practiced what they preached or what they sang. So after the first kid, I think she was pretty much lucky to still be in the group. But then there came another kid. And you see how she's talking about, I'm pregnant, I'm about to have another baby, and whoop, 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 whoop. Then she had another kid. So she had a total of 7 sons, but 3 of those she had out of wedlock. So she had 3 of those out of wedlock. And one thing they didn't mention also in the show was that one of the sons' fathers her that she had, I think that son would be 42 right now. But oh, and by the way, all her kids are 2 years apart, like almost exactly 2 years apart. All her kids, from the oldest to the youngest, which should be 34 right now, they're all 2 years apart. But one of her sons was actually she got pregnant by a bishop. A bishop. And she wasn't married. Now, they didn't say, well, she didn't say if the bishop was married, if the bishop was single, if they were having an affair, none of that type of stuff. She didn't go into details like that. So I don't know what the bishop's status was as far as single, married, divorced, whatever. I just know that she said one of her sons, one of her older sons, is his father is a bishop, and her mother had found that out. And she claimed that her mother had found that out. Her mother was really hurt. She was already hurt that she had kids out of wedlock. But another thing that Niecy had mentioned was that as far as her sisters, I don't know. She kind of, if y'all see that interview, y'all let me know what y'all thought about that part. Like in the movie, it showed like the ladies didn't have no kids. Except for Niecy. Niecy was out there, she was having kids literally back to back because they were every 2 years. But she kind of made it seem like her sisters, I don't know if it was all of them, but she made it seem like in the interview, or made it appear like her sisters were also having sex, like committing fornication, the ones that weren't married, and that they might have possibly had abortions because they tried to make her get rid of the babies. They tried to make her get rid of the ones that she had out of wedlock, but she wouldn't get rid of them. She was like, these are my kids. I'm having my kids, whether y'all like it or not. Y'all just don't have to deal with the fact that she's popping these kids out every few years out of wedlock. And she didn't want to have an abortion. But she had made a comment like, I don't know what my sisters did with all their kids. And I was like, oh, shoot. I mean, she in the show, it really shows that she was I don't know, like an outcast of the family, kind of an outcast, because she wasn't living the life in the public that they wanted the public to see. But we unfortunately didn't get to see all of that displayed in the movie. And another thing, some of the things that like happened in the movie, like, okay, where it showed her father being abusive to their mother, and then when they tried to call the cops, they got slapped when they tried to call 911 to come to the house, and then he takes off and he drives off. And then kind of like after that, you don't really show, is like, what happened to the dad, what happened to the father. They obviously, if you know the story, they got divorced. They ended up getting divorced. But like it didn't really show that much in the show about that. But it was like she claims, now this is what Niecy claimed, that like, okay, if y'all saw the Unsung story, like, did anybody see the Unsung documentary? Unsung, they talk about people who aren't making music anymore, or it's kind of like a where are they now thing, if y'all don't know what Unsung is, but y'all probably do. But anyway, they were on an episode of Unsung, and on that episode, it was also said that their father was very abusive. And in the TV show, now I remember the daughters hearing from downstairs what sounded like their dad was beating up or putting his hands on their mom. It really didn't show exactly what he did to her. But in the unsung show, it said also that he was abusive. But Denise, she claims that that's not true in the unsung story. So she claims it wasn't true and that she had actually got upset with Twinkie because by then she wasn't, she wasn't talking to the sisters anymore when the unsung came out. She, matter of fact, said she didn't even know about the unsung documentary. So I wonder if she even knew about the movie coming out or the Lifetime movie. She said she found out about the documentary on unsung basically when the rest of the world found out. She watched the show with the rest of the world. She wasn't invited by Lifetime or any of the sisters to do the unsung story. She wasn't interviewed for the unsung story. So portions of, I guess, her life or things that happened between the sisters and them or their mother or father and them, it's her. It wasn't nothing that she had said or any interviews that she had said or anything that she had put towards the unsung story personally. So the story was definitely not told by her. Nothing in the unsung story was told by her. It was the rest of the sisters. So now that got me wondering, again, in the movie, did their father really abuse their mother or not? I mean, we did see how in the movie, this was back in the day. Her and her husband, her second husband, they were married in 1927. And I think divorced in 1973, if I'm correct. So they got married a long time ago. And you know how I was in relationships a long time ago. It's like the man ran the house. The man puts his foot down. If he don't see something running the way it's supposed to in his household, whether it's with his wife, whether it's with his children. And so he was really, strict and firm on her being there whenever he needed her, especially if it was a public event, especially if you were a pastor or reverend running a church, which he was. And he was getting he would get upset when she couldn't be there, when she wasn't on his arms at a convocation or at an event or at a meeting or anything like that. He would get upset, and you saw that, when they show him expressing that to her, and I guess it shows that he had got enough, and he was abusive, but it was just that one scene. So they didn't show a whole bunch of different scenes with him being abusive here, abusive there, but they did show him hitting one of hhis daughters after they tried to call the cops. So I don't know if that happened from time to time. That stuff does happen, when, in real life with certain families, when a child try to help their mama, stand up for their mama, they'll get knocked down or beaten worse than their mother, by their own father. So I don't know. So it's certain things that had been going around for years, certain rumors about certain things. One of them being her being kicked out of the group, Niecy being kicked out of the group by her mother or her sisters. Another one being how her sister Twinkie was said to be in the hospital and sick, and then one of the other sisters coming out publicly saying that's not true. They specifically said, if you didn't hear it personally from out of the mouth of one of the Clark sisters, then it's not true or it didn't happen, even though it came out of the mouth of their nephew Larry, which is Denise's son. He was the one who took to the internet and asked people to pray, for his auntie Twinkie, because she was in the hospital and she was sick. So that's why I said I like the movie as far as musically. It showed how their mother pushed them, how great they were from a very, very young age. It showed how ambitious their mother was. Maddie Moss Clark. But for me, it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like a full biopic. It seemed more to me like it was made to showcase more of how ambitious and talented their mother was as a choir director. I mean, did anybody else get that feeling besides me? I'm like, I don't know. It seemed to me like it was more focused on their mom and her grooming them into a group, which was all good. That was all good. I was entertained by the music. I was entertained by the vocals, especially for the vocals of the ladies, the actresses, because those ladies can really sing. Like, oh my God, they were amazing. Some of the ladies, one of the ladies that was in the group, one of the ladies, her name was Kiera Sheard. She played one of the members of the actual Clark sisters. Now, she's of course the granddaughter of Maddie Moss Clark. She played she also played in, what's that other movie? The Preacher's Kid. She played in The Preacher's Kid. She has several albums out. She's like really, really a great singer. She's a gospel singer. She's a fashion designer. She's an actress. And she's the daughter of Karen Clark Sheard. So, she got her skills honest. She is very talented. So, they just didn't put together a group of women to like voice sing or, lip sing or anything like this. They actually sang in the show. And they worked with the Clark sisters and to make sure they sound like the Clark sisters sound really came through their voices. So that part I really, really like, because in a lot of these shows, sometimes they might have somebody on there that can sing. And it's like they really don't just hit the nail on the head when they come across with the actual real person's, vocals or sound alike vocals, or you know what I'm trying to say. So I thought she did really, really good on that part. Thank you for tuning in, Felicia Fee. Thank you so much. Handle your business, girl. Handle your business. I'm actually off of work today. I actually forgot that I had requested to be off of work today. That's why that's why I'm on here now. Because I would have reviewed the show yesterday, but yesterday was Easter and I was with my kids and stuff. So, we were cooking and everything else and watching movies last night on Netflix. And so I figured I would do it today after work. Then I woke up thinking, hold up. I always ask for the day off, the holiday before the holiday, the day off before holidays. So I went and logged on to my computer at home where I've been working, not just for the because of the Rona, but I've been working from home for years. So I logged onto my computer, pulled up my email, and then pulled up the time off section in our computer system. And sure enough, I was supposed to be off today. So, but then I'm also in training. Because I'm being cross-trained for another department that has been getting hit hard because of all the Rona claims, because, I work in disability. So a lot of claims is coming through for people who can't work because they got sick and they got to be off of work, or, shut in. Per se, shut in, the sick and shut in, they got to be shut in for like 2-3 weeks while they dealing with Rona. Some people even more, and some people are dying from it. And it's just crazy seeing all those claims. It makes it even more real when you work at a company like I do, where you actually see it like every day. Coronavirus. I'm like, damn. I didn't but anyhow, so I'm off of work today and I'll go back tomorrow. But anywho, I got sidetracked for a minute when she said she had to run. But thanks again for tuning in. I'll holler at you later. But so as far as the show, as far as the show goes, again, I enjoy seeing how she groomed the ladies, and it kind of reminded me of the Jackson Five. Like it really reminded, and I totally see now why she was nicknamed Joe Jackson. You know, all these years she was nicknamed Joe Jackson because she, you know, she was a force to be reckoned with. Like, even vocally. I mean, her singing, her daughters can sing, her being an amazing choir director. She was a community choir director. I mean, they were amazing. They were amazing. And even Denise, you know, for a lot of years, people assumed that, you know, Twinkie was the one being dragged around a lot during conferences, you know, with Maddie Moss and her choir. But then Niecy has said that, you know, it was her who around the age of 12 or 13, you know, her mother would drag her along to these conferences, to different places where they had to sing and perform. You know, when because a lot of times they were out of town, a lot of the singers, you know, they had regular jobs. Like a lot of these people out here, like I'm sure even with like the Kirk Franklin choirs, the big mass choirs, these people have regular jobs, and so some of them couldn't get off of work for every performance. So she would have her fill in, and she would have her come sing at the age of 12 or 13, singing with the grown folks, you know, for the choirs that she had, you know, was running or whatnot. So yeah, it showed their amazing talents. I was saying earlier that I have always loved the Clark sisters. Like growing up in church, and I was in the choir. I was in the choir at church from a very, very young age, probably from the age of 5 or 6. I was in choir, and then I think I stopped singing in choir for church, that is. I think around the age of, 15, 16. But I sang in chorus at in high school. So I was still singing in chorus in high school, but around that time I kind of like stopped going to church a whole lot, or being forced to go to church a whole lot, I should say, or just didn't go. But yeah, I remember those times growing up in church, and my mom and my stepdad, who raised me with my mom, we had like the big brown stereo player, the big huge, you know, the wall, the floor stereo player. It had the 2 big speakers on the side, and it had the CD player inside, and it also had like a disc player inside. And I remember waking up, and it had the radio, you know. So, and the only music that was allowed in our home when I was younger was gospel music. There was no secular music allowed in my home while I lived there. Now, once I left home, when I left home, I was still in high school, and I left home. My younger brothers still lived at the house. When they were younger, it was the same way, no secular music. But for some reason, after they got high school age, they were allowed to listen to secular music. They were allowed to listen to rap and stuff like that. And I used to be jealous. By then I was grown. I think I had a kid by then. My first son, I think I had him by then. And I would come over to the house, and they be in there playing their music in their room. They little, as my mama called it, the hippity hop. And I'm like, Ma, what is really going on around here? And she was like, I just be telling them don't be playing it too loud. I'm like, for real? And I couldn't play no Salt and Pepper. I couldn't play no Keith Sweat. I couldn't play no Johnny Gill. I couldn't play no New Edition. I couldn't play none of that stuff when I was living at home. But they get to play their Pac and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, that's some ish. But anywho, it is what it is. But I guess, she kind of changed growing up because boys are just, boys can be very different from their daughters. And especially when the first one born, which was me, she was really overprotective, like really overprotective. But anywho, again, y'all let me know what y'all thought about the TV show. One thing, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they was like, what did they say? Matter of fact, let me go over here. Let me pull up this screen real quick. They had said that they really enjoyed the movie because they learned about a lot of things that they didn't previously know about when it came to the Clark sisters. And I'm like, we really didn't learn all that much in the movie. I mean, what we really know about the Clark sisters we did not find out in the movie. I feel like what we really learned in the movie was just how strong-willed their mother was, and how much of an awesome, incredible choir director their mother was. And their grind, their passion for music. I felt like we learned a lot of that. But as far as like their real life story, I think I kind of feel like I was hoodwinked a little bit. I really kind of feel like I was hoodwinked because I was just expecting so much more, from the show, the biopic. So again, I don't know, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I shouldn't have expected more. Or maybe because I'm used to biopics, especially when it comes to musicians and singers, the biopics that's came out so far, it not only focuses on their talent and their drive to success or failure, but it also focuses a lot on their personal life. Like personal things that they went through. Like, for example, how Denise was saying in her interview that she didn't know about, she wasn't welcome at her mother's funeral. She wasn't even like she said, she barely even made it there because she didn't know about arrangements or nothing like that. And because they weren't talking to her. And like with her father, now, remember, the Clark sisters might be called the Clark sisters, but all of the sisters' last name was not Clark because Maddie had been married twice. So her first husband is the father of, Jackie, and the father of their brother. They have one brother. So Jackie and Leo, their brother, he is by their father, Leo Henry Cullum Sr. So that was Maddie's first husband. The second husband, which was Reverend Elbert Clark, the one we seen portrayed in the movie, she married him in 1927. And that's when they had the rest of the sisters. That's when they had Denise Niecy. They had Elbernita, named obviously after her father, Elbernita, aka Twinkie, Dorinda, aka Dodo, and Karen Clark Sheard. So that's who was their father. So some of the things that Denise talked about in the interview was how she had a problem with Jackie, who actually wasn't a Clark, signing all kind of documents all the time, especially when it had to deal with like their mother after she got sick, when she tried to declare her, or had the courts declare their mother as incompetent, like other paperwork, like contracts, when she allegedly tried to they actually did. Twinkie was put into a facility, into a hospital for a month by Jackie. They said that Twinkie was put in the hospital against her will. That's not the time when Twinkie was in the hospital because, she had failed. She had broke her leg. It's alleged that Jackie was abusing Twinkie. And the reason why Niecy felt like she was abusing Twinkie because things started happening after Twinkie and after Denise stood up for their mother because Jackie tried to have her declared as incompetent. They had even went to court. And Jackie was with their mother, who was in a wheelchair, and Twinkie and Denise was on the other side. And the judge, who was trying to figure out if she was incompetent, was asking their mother questions like her name, her address, other stuff. And she was just blurting the answers out. Like, like she was talking like she had sense and like she knew everything that was going on with her. She just had no idea that Jackie had tried to get her declared to be incompetent. Like Denise, she had heard about her sister falling, Twinkie, and hurt her leg and everything. And she had got some papers in the mail. Her and her husband had got some papers in the mail about their mother and her estate. So she wanted to leave California to visit Detroit to check on her sister Twinkie, one of the ones that she was still, in contact with, and she didn't really have any major issues with, and she kind of looked after because her father had made her promise to her on his deathbed. Well, before he died, because she didn't know he had died or in a funeral or anything like that. They didn't tell her any of that, so she missed all the service and everything for her father. That's what she claimed. But she said before he died, he had made her promise that she would take care of Twinkie. That's what Denise said. So when Twinkie got hurt, and even before then, she tried to keep in contact with Twinkie. When Twinkie got hurt, she wanted to go visit her, but she also wanted to visit their mother because of the papers that she had received in the mail about her mother's estate. So when Denise and her husband came to Detroit to visit her mother, she asked her about the paperwork they had received in the mail from the courts of Michigan. And the mother, Maddie, she was like, "Oh, them papers, it's nothing. It's just, all my children, all 6 of my children, she wants them all to split her estate equally. All 6 of the children, the 2 she had before her in her first marriage, Jackie and Leo, and of course the 4 Clark sisters underneath. They all went by Clark because that was the group name, and because Maddie was married to Clark, to Elbert Clark, at the time the group formed, and that's why they were called the Clark sisters. Even though at the time the group formed, Jackie was a Cullum because of Maddie's first marriage. But anywho, so Denise left Detroit to check on her sister Twinkie and to check on her mother. Come to find out, her mother had no idea that Jackie was trying to declare her incompetent so that she could take total control over her estate. Their mother actually thought that the paperwork that was being sent out to the kids was alerting them that because, she was sick, she had diabetes, she had her leg removed, and, she was all kind of complications. So they knew she wasn't going to be around forever, and she did too. But she had found out then at that time that her oldest daughter, because Denise is the oldest Clark sister, but Jackie is the oldest daughter. So the mother found out at that time that Jackie was taking control of her estate instead of all the kids having an equal control. Jackie was trying to declare her incompetent. So that's why I said, and they went to court and everything. And then also Denise's son Larry was living with Twinkie along with Jackie's son, and Denise found out that Twinkie had been put into a hospital facility, and so she was trying to find out what's going on, why she in the hospital. Come to find out, she had been put in there against her will, and guess who was taking over her estate or her finances? Jackie. so Denise, she had stepped in also, and she was like, this ain't gonna happen again. It's the same thing that Jackie tried to do with Mama. Now she's trying to do it to her little sister Twinkie, and she was in a facility for a whole month, for 4 weeks. I'm like, and then Denise had allegedly, as far as the abuse goes, the reason why Niecy thought that Twinkie was being abused was because when Twinkie and them had, interceded with Jackie trying to declare their mother incompetent, and they took her to court and all that kind of stuff, Denise felt like, to get payback to Denise, the one they shunned all those years because of her kids, her 3 kids out of wedlock when they were a group. She felt like she was hurting Jackie. That Jackie was hurting Twinkie to get back at Denise, because Denise was like, I guess she was probably at the forefront of trying to make sure that her mother was not declared incompetent. So she thinks that she was abusing her and over medicating her and everything. And Twinkie had even said, when Denise got involved, that she didn't mind being given the medication that she's supposed to receive, but she does not want somebody else taking over her estate or over her finances and things like that. So that's why Denise stepped in again in that situation, just like she did with their mother. So that's why I say, I don't feel like, I'm not saying Lifetime did a horrible job or a bad job, because I did enjoy the biopic, but I don't think it was a biopic. I think it was like just a story of their mother's determination to make them the best female gospel group out there. That's what I feel like. I don't feel like it was really a bio of their life, if you know what I mean. I hope y'all understand what I'm trying to say. Because we did see how their life was, as far as their mother waking them up at the crack of dawn, some Joe Jackson style, waking them up at the crack of dawn with a whip saying, "Get in formation, get y'all butts up there in the living room, and we gonna practice this song that I just had come to me in a dream by the Lord himself." And them going town to town and all these different conventions and the tours, and we saw like their life as far as musically, just that part. But I don't know. That's just how I feel. And the real mamas, you said some more juicy details. See, that's what I was saying, like, to who I was talking to earlier. I'm like, they were like, oh, I learned so much about the Clark sisters that I didn't know before. I'm like, what did we really learn besides, we already knew they was a great music group. We already knew they were talented. They were great vocalists. I felt, again, like we just didn't know how much their mother pushed them to succeed. That's all I feel like we really learned about in the TV show. But if you haven't seen it, watch it, because it's a really good movie. And I love me some gospel music. I love music, period. But I love me some gospel music. And if y'all didn't watch the interview that I did the other day with Douglas Edward, he is a music manager. He used to manage rappers, but he really now only manage like R&B and gospel groups and country groups. And he actually used to date, a lot of y'all know Waka Flocka, a lot of y'all know his mother Deb. He actually, way back in the day, he used to date the person I interviewed, the manager. He used to date Waka's mother, Deb. So that's who I got to interview the other day. And he worked with a lot of famous rapper, famous singers, musicians. He's done a lot. So I interviewed him the other day about his company, about his music artist boot camp program, and we talked about gospel music and secular and all that kind of stuff. It was an awesome interview. So especially if you are interested in the music business, or you are up and coming rapper, singer, whatever, or if you are looking into being in management or starting your own label or anything like that, I definitely recommend you watch that interview. And in the comment section of the interview and in the description box, I put all the information for that manager, and his contact information, and also of this music group, this gospel music group that's from here in my town. I had actually interviewed the lead singer of that group like 2 weeks ago, because they were having a pre-CD release concert at my church that was coming up back then, like a few weeks ago. So I interviewed him like the night before the concert. They are going to have a tour starting soon after this, after this epidemic is over with. They're going to have a tour, and one of their first stops, of course, is going to be here in the hometown. And it's a red carpet event. They're going to have all kind of VIP sections and all that kind of stuff. And I will, of course, receive, I'm waiting for them to come in the mail now, my press passes, me and my photographer, the same lady who we got press passes for at the that huge tattoo convention in Iowa like a few months back. So my photographer, she'll be there. We'll be taking pictures and interviewing them and all that. I'm gonna get my CD signed, because I bought a CD at the pre-CD release party. I bought a CD, so I'm gonna get my CD signed by the members, and that's gonna be so fun. I've never been to a red carpet event before. Never thought I would ever be at a red carpet event in my entire life. But anyway, and it's gonna be other people there, other gospel groups, and some of the gospel groups that was at the pre-CD release party a few weeks ago. Some of them is coming back, on the tour as well. So, all right, real mamas. I didn't see when you had typed that in. Oh, that was a few minutes ago. I don't know if she's back yet or not, but she said she'd be right back. But yeah, so I love gospel music. I really do. So that's why I really, really enjoyed the biopic. I just was expecting a lot more. And like, they didn't touch on like Niecy having a baby by a bishop. Like one of the things, like, a lot of people still don't honestly know everything that happened between the Clark sisters and why they separated and why they have not got back together. Like when Karen had made the statement at the Essence Award in 2016 that the group was coming back together and they was going to be the image of families reconnecting and stuff like that. Niecy was like, they ain't never reached out to me. She claims that she hasn't really had a conversation, although they may have been at some events at the same time, because they both in gospel, and Denise is an apostle, and they go to convocation, all that kind of stuff. They've been at events at the same time, but as far as like really truly speaking and having conversations, Niecy says the last time they really had a conversation was like that scene at the funeral of their mother. She was like, that was the last time they really had any civil conversations. So when Karen made that statement at the 2016 Essence Awards, Niecy said she was lying. She was like, she actually said to the public that she had reached out to me to rejoin the group. So one of the things that Niecy claimed why they haven't rejoined, or the group hasn't like made new music and all as the original group coming back together, was because she said there's so many lies and deception in the family, and she refused to live a life of lies, and she refused to fake the funk in front of the public, like like her children when she had her children. And she left the group. For years, people assumed, or it was rumored, that she was kicked out the group. She wasn't kicked out. She left. One of the reasons why she left was not only because she had children out of wedlock that she was being shunned for. She said she was being disrespected. She was being mistreated. She said on tour, off a tour, during performances, outside of performances. She said all the way around by all of them, including her mother. She said she was being mistreated. And then when they found out that one of her baby daddies was by a bishop, that was like the icing on the cake. But yeah, she claimed she left because she couldn't deal with the lies, like her different things that she was that the family was going through, that the sisters were either covering up or they was giving off a fake hate. Like a lot of people have thought that one of their sisters was a nurse. So during the interview, she was asked about the sister being a nurse. And they was like, that was Jackie. And they was like, she said, I am so tired of hearing that lie. She said that lie been around for years. And she said, I'm here to squash that lie. She was like, Jackie was not a nurse. She was never a nurse. She never got a license. She said she went to school to be a nurse, but she flunked the board several times. She was like, she went to the board several times, flunked the board. She never was a nurse. Never. So that was, that was one of the lies that was going around, but it was many more. If y'all saw that interview, she let on a lot of things that she had experienced, with the family and in the Kojic community. And no shade against the Kojic, but I do know a lot of people who was raised Kojic, and I know a lot of people who are no longer Kojic, and I certainly understand why some people leave that community or that, religion per se. Again, no shade to the Kojic. I grew up Pentecostal, non-denominational. Sometimes the two can seem like they're along the same line sometime. But I remember one Kojic church I went to and I was looked down on because I was wearing makeup. And that's when I used to wear makeup. Like, I wear makeup now, but I only wear liquid foundation, powder, eyeliner. That's like what I normally wear now. But I used to be a Mary Kay rep, and so I used to have like the eyeshadows. I mean, makeup, like just beat to the guys, okay? Lipstick, all that kind of stuff, because I was like trying to rep what I was selling. I had the big Mary Kay sticker on my back window, on my doors. I mean, I was really into Mary Kay, doing facial parties and all kind of stuff. So that's when I used to wear more makeup. And I was kind of like at the church that I had, because I was like hopping between churches then, and one of them was a Kojic. I went there a couple of times and I never went back. And I was like, they don't want you to wear pants to church. And I'm so used to wearing what I want to church. When I was younger, real young, my mother like made me wear dresses and skirts and stuff. But then when she realized I was a tomboy, I couldn't even sit right in a dress. My legs would be gapped open. I'd be sitting there in church like, she'd be like, shut your legs, shut your legs, shut your legs. Then she started buying me what we call back in the day skirts or like culottes. Some of y'all nowadays might not know what culottes and skirts are, the younger generation. But that's when she started having me wear, culottes and skirts, because I could sit with my legs open and nobody could see anything. But yeah, and after that, we started going to a church and we could wear pants. And I was like so excited because I could wear pants to church. And I'm like, I know some people look down on women who wear pants to church, but I've never been a dress wearing, skirt wearing girly girl like that. I mean, you see how my makeup is now? Only like really beat my face with makeup and all that kind of stuff was when I was selling Mary Kay. I'm really not that girly into that kind of stuff, So, and I think even now I probably have one or two dresses in the closet. I just don't wear dresses. And those dresses would come from my bestie, who now doesn't live in Omaha anymore. She moved to Florida a couple years ago, but she would buy my dresses because she would like to see me in a dress. And I'm like, I hate it. And I would wear the dress just to satisfy her. Then they be up in the closet. I need to get them things to the Goodwill and give them away to somebody. But hey, Just Lovely, you said you still Kojic. Yeah, I know several people who are Kojic and still go to Kojic churches. Matter of fact, one of them is one of my god sisters. She goes to a Kojic church, and I ain't gonna say her name, but she actually is a wonderful, excellent singer. I mean, used to be in a gospel group and everything when she was younger. And she was requested because she wear pants a lot too. She's like tomboyish, like I am. And she would wear pants a lot to church. But once she joined the choir, it was all good for a minute with the pants. But then she was told that she couldn't be in the choir if she wouldn't wear a dress or a skirt. And she was kind of convicted because she was like, I like wearing my pants. And it wasn't like she was showing up in jeans looking, she would be with nice shoes, heels, hair done. She's a girly girl, but she still is tomboyish. But she would be looking all cute, all cute things in her pants or her pants outfit or suit or whatnot. And she really loves gospel. She really loves to sing gospel. She loves being in the choir. At first, she had declined to stay, and then she felt convicted. She was like, "Oh man, if they really want me to wear pants, if they really want me to wear a dress, and I really want to sing, I guess I got to do what they say." And so she was like, I'll wear a dress or I'll wear a skirt. You said from birth and still under the same bishop. That's awesome. I'm not in the same church that I was in from birth, because actually literally from birth, I didn't start going to church till I was probably 4 or 5. My mother did not, she went to church when she was younger, when she lived with my grandma, when she was younger. But when my mother got on her own and then had me, we stayed by ourselves. She was a single parent, for a while till she met my stepdad. And so we never went to church. I remember like it was yesterday. We had lived in the projects. One of the projects here in Omaha, Nebraska. It was Pleasant View East. For those of y'all from Omaha, it was the gas station that used to be called the Gin. Back in the day, by the old Head Start up there on the hill. We stayed directly like catty corner to the Gin. And so there was this lady who would come by every week and knock on my mother's door and would give her a tract. Most people in church know what a tract is. Or if you ever had a Jehovah's Witness knock on your door, it wasn't like something like that. It was like a tract with their church information on it and kind of like an invitation to their services. And my mother would always decline. And at that time, I was young. I was like 4 or 5. And the only time I left the house, if it wasn't with my mother to go shopping or to our family's house or grandma's, it was at that time to go to Head Start or kindergarten, because I can't remember if I was 4 or 5. But I didn't go to church. So I didn't know what church was. I didn't know why this lady was coming to our house every day, talking to my mama and, trying to get her to go someplace. But then one day, I don't know if it was because of the pressure from this lady constantly knocking on her door. And it wasn't just her door. The lady would go through all the projects and ask people, did you know Jesus? Do you believe in God? Are you saved? You know how they do. And one day my mom, she just, I don't know, decided to try the church out and went to the church. And I swear it was on ever since. So I didn't start going to church till I was like 4 or 5. And the first church I went to was like a Pentecostal non-denominational church. I loved it. I made a lot of friends there. But we only went there till about, I think I was 12 or 13. Then my mother one day at home, we didn't have a car back then. We was low income. We didn't have no car. We was on the stamps and the WIC and with all that kind of stuff. We was always broke. Let me put it that way. But anyway, we didn't have a car, and she used to listen to the gospel on the radio all the time because no secular music was allowed in the house. And there was this local minister, this female pastor, who would come on the radio like once a week. And my mother fell in love with her preaching. And when my mother found out that the ladies' church was within walking distance from our house, one day she got me dressed. Well, not got me dressed because I was like 13, but you know what I mean? She had me get dressed. She had my little brother at the time, because at that time I had one. Was my other baby brother, was he born yet? I think my baby brother was just born. So she took us to that church. Yep, I think he was just born. So she took all three of us to the church, and we walked. And it was like a revival. There was a revival going on. And you know how them Pentecostal churches, they will have a revival for weeks on end. And that church did. But anyway, we went to a revival, a tent revival. No, it wasn't under a tent that time. It was in the church. And we went to the revival, and something just touched her spirit. And she decided to leave the church that I've only known from like the ages of 4 or 5 to 13. And she took us out of that church, and we joined this other church, which was also like non-denominational Pentecostal. So that's really all I knew growing up. And then after I stopped going to church as a late teenager, probably like 16, something like that, I stopped going to church like I normally did all the time or was forced to. And then I kind of just stopped going to church. And then I didn't really get back into church till I was probably... I think that was like around the time my first son was born. So I was probably 22, 23-ish, something like that. I went to church again. I went back to the second church that my mother had put us in. I started going there for a while. Then I hopped around to another church. Then I hopped around. I didn't really have a church home for years. And sometimes I went to church, and sometimes I didn't go to church. And then a couple of years ago, I started visiting this one church. As some of y'all know, I used to dance on a hip hop line dance team. And one of the members belonged to this one church. Now, she had belonged there since birth. And she had invited me to her church, and I was visiting their church off and on for like a little over a year. And it's Baptist. And that was my first time really joining a Baptist church. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I couldn't even really tell the difference between what I was used to. I mean, it was the same fire raising, brimstone preaching. I mean, people shouting and catching the spirit and all that, you know. The choir was lit and still lit. Matter of fact, my friend who I met on our dance team, she is the choir director. So, I mean, the choir was lit, and I don't know, after like a year and a half, I was like, why am I just still visiting this church? I might as well join. So I joined the church. So now I belong to a Baptist church. And like I said, I really don't really see a big difference between that and what I grew up in. So, and I know how some people is. I would never go to coaching. I would never do Baptist. I would never do, you know, certain people just, they really like setting their ways when it comes to, you know, their religion status. But me, I kind of just hopped from church to church till I found somewhere that I felt comfortable. So that's what I did. So, yeah. And of course, you know, because of the epidemic that's going on right now, some people are still going to church. Some people are not going to church. Me personally, I prefer to watch it live. Our church goes live every Sunday. They also go live from Bible study. So, matter of fact, I saw another member of our church the other day. Where was I at? I was at some store the other day and I saw a lady. I was like, oh, hey, I ain't seen you in a while. She ain't seen me in a while. And she was talking and she was like, she had talked to the pastor the other day and told the pastor, she feels like she needs to stay home and just watch them live like some of the other members are. A lot of members across the world are watching church live from home. So she was like, when this is all over with, I'll be back in my pew, where she sits all the time. And I'll be back in my pew where I normally sit all the time with my sons. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of people are doing that these days, watching church live via Facebook. That's how I watch mine, live via Facebook. So, but yeah, so you guys, that's my take on the movie, the biopic, the Lifetime show, the Clark sisters, and I love them all. I mean, they're truly all together, they are amazing. But even after Niecy left, I mean, they still sound good. They still sound great. So if they ever get back together, I'm sure it would be God's will if they got back together. And if they ever don't never get back together, then I guess that also is God's will if they never come out with a new CD. But as far as I know, I haven't heard about no new CD. If a new CD is out there, somebody please let me know because I would love to check it out. But yeah, I haven't had a Clark sister CD or tape in years, since like way before my mother passed, because she loved she loved her some Clark sisters. That was one of her favorite gospel groups as well. But other than that, you said you visited other churches, but I can't get down. And I feel you. I feel you. Some people are like that, especially when you join a church from birth. And that's all you know. That's all you know. So I get that. I really do. When we jumped from our first church, where I had the church I had only known, to that second church, because it was like the same lines, Pentecostal, non-denominational, it wasn't like, it was just like, okay, I'm going to miss all my friends. And I still saw some of my friends, from the old church because, I had we ran the streets together or whatnot. And then also for junior high, my mother from the old church, from the first church we went to, there was a lady who was a principal in this religious school. And her and her husband had came there. They was going to different churches in the hood and different neighborhoods in the hood. And they was talking to parents trying to enroll their children into their Christian school. So my mother actually had enrolled us in that Christian school when I was going to that first church, me and my bros. And then a lot of the kids at that church had, their parents had enrolled them in there as well. I'm talking about everybody in the hood was going to that church. It was like bus loads of black kids, little black kids, some of them gang members, some of them, I mean, ghetto, ignorant. I mean, it was all kinds of kids on these buses that I was riding with. And it wasn't like I was like one of the perfect ones or anything like that, because I was from the street too. But it was like one day just a bus loads of little black kids from the hood, from the projects, showed up on the first day of school at this Christian school where it was nothing but, I mean, it was really only white people there. I mean, it was probably a few mixed kids, a few Latinos, but it was crazy. It was crazy. I felt totally out of place at that school. But anyway, what I was getting at was I went there for a couple of years. Then I got kicked out. So for 9th grade, I couldn't go there. I went there for 7th and 8th grade. I got kicked out because I was always getting in trouble and getting in detention and other stuff. And I refused to get spankings because at that school, they would spank you. They would like either paddle you, or you would have to do a week in detention, and you have to literally read the Bible from Genesis 1:1 as far as you can read all day long for the whole week of your detention. So when I was a child or a teenager, and if anybody tried to come up to me and quote some scriptures, or tell me what the Bible said and they was wrong, I would shut them down because I knew the Bible inside and out, knew every chapter, backwards, forward, front. I mean, because I was always in detention and always reading the Bible. And then we already had like, I don't know if you would call it like mass or something. Every morning, the first class we had, we was in like a small auditorium and we had like a Bible study or something for like the first hour every single morning. So not only that, but I was in church at home, going to church all the time. Then every time I got in trouble at this Christian school, I had to read the Bible from the beginning. And it was like every single time you went to detention, no matter if it was your 4th or your 10th time, you had to start all over from Genesis 1:1, not where you stopped the last time you was in detention. Hey, Miss Sislo, how you doing? But yeah, so anyway, what I was getting at was once I went to the new church, I still saw some of those friends from my old church because a lot of us had been enrolled in that Christian school. And I think most of us stayed like a few years. Matter of fact, I had a boyfriend in 8th grade. My mother didn't really know he was my boyfriend. She just thought he was some guy that liked me, who always kept coming around to the house, who always kept sniffing around at our church. I was like dating him on the down low, not down low, but you know what I mean, on the low, because my mom didn't want me dating at that age. And he had actually got in trouble. He was a gang member. He was a Crip. That's kind of like how I got along that path. And he was a Crip, and he had kept getting in and out of trouble, even though we all went to this Christian school. But like I said, we all came from the hood, from the projects. So it wasn't like they just throw us in this Christian school. And then overnight, even though some of us went to church every Sunday, you know how it is. Shoot, just like grown-ups, they go to church every Sunday. And some of them on Saturday night is at the club to 3 or 4 in the morning, drinking and getting drunk, having fornication, sex, you know, all kind of stuff through the week. And then they come to church on Sunday and they ooh, Sheba Shabbat Sunday, hey, woo. You know what I mean? So yeah, the kids was like that too. It's like we went to church on Sundays, but outside of church, and even in this Christian school, we was not trying to be sitting up there acting like we some good old goody two-shoe saints up in that church. So a lot of times we always got in trouble and people were getting kicked out and our parents would be called and, you know, all the kind of stuff. Anyway, I lasted 2 years in there before they finally was like, okay, we had enough of you. But my boyfriend at that time, who was a Crip, he had got moved to, it was kind of like, to me, it reminds me of the Fresh Prince story, because the Fresh Prince had got into a fight, you know, on the TV show. He got in a fight in his hood, and his mother shipped him off to be with his Uncle Phil and his aunt. And like the same thing happened with my boyfriend at that time. He had got sent to Washington State to live with his aunt and uncle because they wanted to get him away from everything. I guess they thought it would help. It didn't really help. It didn't really help. Y'all might be like, why is she laughing? But because he became a pimp. Woo! So we went from the hood and going to church to going to a religious school. Then he got put out of that. His mother and them, they was like, oh, we need to get you out of Omaha. So they sent him to live with his aunt and uncle in Washington, and he became a pimp. And he had a lot of hoes. And it was so funny because he would come to Omaha and visit sometime to see his family and whatnot. And he would bring like some of his worker girls because I guess they were his bottoms, or I don't know what they call them, but they would come here and they would do a little work while he was here. Then they would all go back to Washington. I was like, damn. They got him out the gangs, I guess, per se. But then he became a pimp. And I was like, which one's worse? A pimp or being in a gang? I don't know. Y'all tell me. But anyway, he ended up moving back to Omaha. some years ago. I think like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and then he ended up actually getting murdered by somebody. So that was really, really hard. And I went to his service. I went to his funeral, and I saw his mom again and visited his mom, at their house and all that kind of whoop whoop. But yeah, so anyway, that's a little portion of my life. Y'all know every now and then I share little bits and pieces. I'm not entirely an open book, but I do try to be transparent, from time to time on here. But yeah, you said my sister shout every week. I just look at her like, just lovely. You know what? I remember those days growing up in church, and I swear I really didn't understand the Holy Spirit, but I did understand the Holy Spirit. But what I loved was mimicking our parents and mimicking like the elders, ladies and stuff. And I mean, it was like always one of us that was really good at mimicking a certain person. Like we had this certain usher, I can't remember his name, but I mean, he had, every time he got in the spirit, he would shout and jump up and down, and his legs would look like he was running, like in slow motion. He would kick his legs up really high behind him, and he'd be like running in place and shouting. And his arm, I remember he was so tall and skinny, his arms were so long, it seemed like he would touch the roof every time he jumped up and down in the church. And we had one child that, oh my God, just had him so down, so packed. And then, I mean, it was always like an elder lady or somebody who we would mimic, and it was fun. And when I looked at it back, when I got older, I'm like, oh my God, we was disrespecting the Lord. We was disrespecting the Lord, disrespecting the church house. So, I felt bad as I got older, but anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of kids who do that. But yeah, when I shout now, when I'm older in church and I shout and I praise, I don't be doing all that rolling on the floor and throw a sheet over me, kind of, Holy Ghost rolling thing like that. But I shout and I get my praise on when I go to church, especially when our pastor is off the chain. And matter of fact, I had him on a show a week ago. It was called My Pastor's Point of View. And we're going to do a segment like every week or every other week. And it's just going to be me and my pastor. And he's really cool. He's down to earth. So it wasn't like it was a show where he was just preaching, fire and brimstone. We was just talking and chopping it up, talking about what's going on in the world, the community, children. We was just, talking about, just stuff. And it was like me and my pastor's point of view. We even talked about, what's her name? Oh, I forgot. What's her name? The lady. Ooh, what is her name? The lady who was selling the prayer kits. The lady selling the prayer kits for $133. Hold on. I cannot remember her name right now. Somebody help me out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look in my on my Facebook. What is her name? We played church in our house. Oh, we used to play church and used to play house when we was younger. I look back at some of the stuff we used to do when we was younger. I'm like, man, we was crazy. We would play house like one of my husbands would be like my cousin, and we didn't do we didn't do house stuff. We would just be cooking and putting kids in the bed like some of the younger kids and pretending like we changing their diaper and feeding them and, stuff like that. But yeah, we used to play house. We used to play church at home. We'd be at the house shouting. Somebody be reading the Bible. We did all kind of stuff when we was growing up, but it was fun. But yeah, Juanita Bynum. She started selling some prayer kits like a week ago, like when everybody started getting really hard with this epidemic. And she had posted on her Facebook page prayer kits that included like a prayer cloth or a handkerchief and a bottle of water. And I don't know, something else. You got a prayer kit? No, you got a prayer shawl, a prayer handkerchief, a bottle of water, prayer oil, and a t-shirt for $133. And she was receiving a lot of backlash for that. So on the show I did with my pastor like a week or so ago, I had asked him, I said, how do you feel about that? And he didn't really shade her, because he's a pastor. He's like, I'm not going to shade another pastor. But he said, I wouldn't do it. He said, in this time and day, when people are losing jobs and they need money and people is in the unemployment lines and making payment arrangements with their car dealerships and mortgage bankers and stuff like that, this is a time where we need to be giving to people and giving to the community. So that was his thoughts. We was, laughing and joking about it. But, anywho, I just was, letting you guys know that it wasn't like the show I did with my pastor was him just preaching, because he does that in the pulpit. But he wants to come on my show. He actually reached out to me and said he would like to appear on my show like every week or every other week, several times a month, just to talk, just to sit down and talk about what's going on, different issues in our city, different issues in the world, stuff like that, just from a preacher's point of view or a pastor's point of view. Thus the name of the show, My Pastor's Point of View. So if y'all want to check that out, I did our first video about a week or so ago, and it was called My Pastor Rollison's Point of View. But yeah, so I pretty much been in church all my life, so I know a lot of the traditions, and I know a lot of things happen in church and then outside of church. Some of the things that happen in church are just like the things that you would expect to happen in the world, per se. Like in the case of Denise Clark, how one of her sons, she got pregnant by a bishop, 3 kids out of wedlock. One of them came from a bishop. She was shunned a lot, outcasted from the family, mistreated. So yeah. Churches on the outside is not always what they appear to be. So I learned that personally growing up. You said no, man, Juanita just wrong for that. I mean, me personally, I thought it was wrong. Well, I thought it was bad timing. Like my pastor agreed. He said he thought it was bad timing too. Any other time, sell whatever you want to sell. A prayer cloth, a prayer hanky, a prayer bottle, holy oil. Sell what you want to. But I think it was bad timing. Just bad timing. And so she got a lot of backlash on that. But I still think she's selling them. So, some people, it's kind of like these stores out here. You can't find gloves, and you can't find masks, and you can't find tissue, and you can't find bleach, and all these different things that you can barely find in a store. But if you go online, you can find it on there. You might have to pay $200 for 5 masks. You know what I mean? So some people looked at it like you taking advantage of the unfortunate. You know what I mean? Just bad timing. I just think it was bad timing. But anyway, I can go on and on. Y'all know I like to talk, so I'm gonna end the video right there. But if y'all did watch the show and y'all come in after I'm done with this review, feel free to leave me a comment, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. Feel free to give me your opinion on the show, after my review is over and you guys come in late. Just feel free to let me know how you feel about the show or anything that, was depicted in the show, or other things you might have heard, about some of the members or, whatnot. Leave it in the comments after this video is over. Please feel free. And also, you said you made your own mask. I was talking to my godmom the other day, and I was telling her, because my some of y'all know that my godfather, my godmom's husband, he passed about a week ago. We couldn't have a service in church. We couldn't have a service at the funeral home. The only thing they did allow us to do is have have like a graveyard gravesite service, a small service. Like we literally, it was really short, less than 30 minutes. And they had like where 10 people over here, 10 people over here, 10 people over here. They made sure it wasn't all like on top of each other, even at the grave site. So I was talking to her the other day because after he passed, she had all these boxes of gloves from the VA hospital because he's a vet, and they had all of these. She had all these masks. She had all these gloves. And she had masks because she had bought a whole bunch of masks from like the stores before he passed, before the Rona came around. So she had all these boxes of gloves, wasn't even open. So she just started handing them out to me and the rest of the kids and everybody who, she was like, y'all need some gloves, y'all need some masks, y'all need. So that's how I ended up getting masks and gloves because I couldn't find any at the store. And I was talking to her the other day and she was like, girl, go on to YouTube. You know how older people are. She said, go on to YouTube. And she knows I'm a YouTuber. She chimes in from sometime in the chat. She be like, your mother's here. But she said, yeah, she has said just that, just lovely. Just that, just lovely. She said just that. She said, go on to YouTube, child. And you can find out how to make you your own scarf. She said, you get a coffee filter. And she started trying to tell me how to do it and stuff. I said, I'm gonna just go online. I'll figure it out. I was like, I'll figure it out. But yeah, that's what she said. She said use coffee filters. And I definitely got a lot of those because I drink me some coffee almost every single morning before I log onto the computer for work. Even at home, whether I'm at the office or at home, I'm going to make me a pot of coffee before I can get my day started. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna try. After my masks are all used up, I still got a whole bunch of gloves in my glove box. But after my mask is used up, I'll try to make my own. But y'all men out there, y'all be careful because some of them masks that people are making on their own looks like those scarves. Some gang members back in the day and still do. They wore scarves, like the Crips wore blue, the Bloods wore, red. And we did a live a few days ago, and in that live conversation, that was our Friday night live. Matter of fact, that live was lit. Every Friday we do a Friday night live on the Hood Table. Last week or 2 days ago, whatever, that live was lit. Lit. But anyway, y'all gotta check it out. But we was talking about because in this is there's this guy, well, two guys who were not allowed to be in the Walmart because they had made their own masks. And one of the guys who was interviewed, he said, when I was deciding to make my own mask, he said I was making sure that I selected the right colors. He said, I could have got red. I could have got blue. He said, but I got pink. He said, I got baby blue because he's a North Carolina fan. So he got baby blue because he said it matched my North Carolina hat and my jersey and all that. He said, I got pink ones. He said, I got all these colors that I would hope people wouldn't, look at me if I came to the store with this scarf mask over my face. They wouldn't think that I'm dangerous or, something like that. And he had on a baby blue one and he got put out of Walmart. So Walmart was getting a backlash because they're like, okay, people can't find masks. And people using anything they can at home to find a mask. And because we see these ladies out here with these masks, them scars, handmade, and they ain't getting put out the stores. But because he was a dude, even though he had on a baby blue colored one, he couldn't be allowed in the store at Walmart. I thought that was kind of messed up. I'm like, because first of all, like I said in the live on our Friday night live the other day, ain't no man before the Rona running up in Walmart with a scarf on, whether it's black, red, white, blue, brown. Ain't no man running up in Walmart with no scarf on. Now he might run up in a gas station. He might run up in a bank. But Walmart, where there's hundreds of people, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people shopping and all kind of police. I'm like, ain't no man running up in Walmart with no baby blue or any color homemade scarf on trying to rob Walmart. So for them to put him out the store because he had a homemade mask on, and they I guess they claimed him as he looked threatening or something like that, I would sue Walmart. I sure would, because if he is going through that and he can't make a homemade mask when we can't buy them at the store and go shop at Walmart, then you know it's going to happen again and again and again and again to the men. So yeah, he needs to make a statement and make it loud and clear. You said we already had two fools go up in the store with their masks on and rob them for cigarettes and lottery tickets. See, that's what I'm talking about. Most people who are going to rob somebody, they going to do it at a gas station. They're going to do it at a small establishment. A small establishment. There's too many people up in Walmart for you to be walking up in there talking about, give me all your money. Like, somebody going to know you, first of all. They be like, look, is that little Ray over there trying to rob Walmart with his baby blue scarf on his face? I don't know. And see, that's what they need to do here. I mean, not just here, but because that situation didn't happen in Omaha. I can't remember where it happened, but they do need to change that, where people can walk up into Walmarts and the grocery stores with a mask on. He was shopping. He had a grocery cart. He was getting groceries. So I thought that was messed up. I'm like, wow, I done heard it all now. But yeah, they need to suspend that. I mean, at least for the meantime, at least until they can get more masks out into the store. And I don't even think that's going to happen anytime soon, because most of the masks and gloves can only be ordered from healthcare facilities. So, and matter of fact, one of my friends that went to Costco, I think like a week ago, and they were trying to look for masks and stuff. And they said, we ordered them, but only for healthcare facilities. So, but anyhow. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. We done jumped on different subjects after my review, but I'm glad some of y'all stayed in to talk and chop it up with me. And I hope everybody enjoyed the review. You said he left his cell phone on the counter. Was it open? Y'all should have went in there and changed his code. Oh, but you probably can't do that because when they ask you to change the code, you have to enter your code before you can change the code. So that wouldn't work. But yeah, I would have got some of his pictures or something out of there. Called his baby mama, a prank calling her, talking about, this is other girlfriend. We got a baby on the way. Oh Lord, that's not right. But anywho, thanks everybody for tuning in to my review of the Clark Sister. The Clark Sister movie. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys, if you forgot to hit the like button, and you probably forgot because I know you wouldn't purposely not hit the like button, but if you forgot to hit the like button, please make sure you hit the like button before you back out of this video. Share the video, please. And of course, again, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And have a good day. Deuces.